So hello everyone, welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Eyes closed. You practice. You develop inner attitude. Detaching yourself from all manifestations. All of them. As you practice and develop that inner attitude, it will have to be present. Eyes closed, eyes open. No difference. Letting go. Letting go. The highest mantra. Letting go of importances, attachments, own opinions. Letting go. And remaining in that silence. That resulting silence. Okay. Before I go to questions, I will talk about one subject which is quite important. It's quite frequent, and it's getting more frequent, to receive seekers asking for guidance or something in the source with more or less the same speech. A speech about ultimate experiences or experiences that seem like ultimate. And as they move on explaining and telling about their situation, everything is right, everything is in the right place. And if I start putting questions, for example, so everything is like that, so why aren't you at peace? Why don't you know who you are? And as these questions are made, the answers come in a way that, no, but I'm at peace. So they are looking for guidance, but still these things are there, and they continue to deny the reality. Why is this? Why does this happen? Well, because spirituality has become, for a lot of people, like an identity. And the teachings have given a direction as the character has to mold itself, has to appear like. And in the absence of a real path, and you have the clues, you have the descriptions of experiences and all of this, and in the absence of the real path, as you are protecting that which is precious for the character, mind starts creating all these things. There are other things also, interferences and some, but that's not the subject today. And mind starts creating that which is not coming naturally because, well, it has clues. It has clues, and it wants to protect that which is still important, and at the same time to appear that it is evolving, that it is reaching somewhere, things are happening and such and so and so and so. And the biggest difficulty in getting out from this is the mindset. And the mindset is there to protect that which is not in the right place and to enhance that which appears to be in the right place. So if you want to have a chance, because it is all about you in the middle of your own delusion, it doesn't matter which delusion is, more crazy delusion, more focused delusion, doesn't matter. That's just circumstances. And if you want to have a chance against your own delusion, you need to change that mindset. Because for protection's sake, your mind is enhancing that which appears to be in the right place and covering that which is not in the right place, masquerading it. For example, I hear a lot of these speeches about it's beyond enlightenment even, because, well, and still a day-to-day life, a dependency, normal structures. And of course, this can be debated, but debates are useless. Same fears are there, and as the speeches go on, they are carefully targeting those specific areas to protect themselves from what they don't want to know. So they reach high states in these at their jobs and all everywhere with everybody. There's nobody, and the language is nice and it fits the modern literature. Yes, but there's the absence of real experience, of the fire of the spiritual experience, and that you cannot fake. Cannot be faked. So usually, if you're in that place, getting all these experiences with all that language and all of that, it will be difficult for you to come out of it because, first of all, that's where you want to be. But for some of you, there's something there which is telling you that something's not right. But the mind is in control. So it will act upon this something is not right with caution, selecting that which doesn't threaten what is established. So to be able to overcome this obstacle, which is pride, vanity, dependency on a lot of things, low self-esteem, etc., and etc., and etc., you will have to train yourself to see that which is not in the right place, instead of giving excuses, of justifying. You will have to question. Or else you'll just continue entertain ad infinitum. You see, mind is the labyrinth. The delusional labyrinth. Mind is the labyrinth. I repeat it again for those who don't understand well my English. Mind is the labyrinth. Mind is the labyrinth. So if the mind is the labyrinth, how can it be the guide out of the labyrinth? When the seeker is ready, mature, not ready as to 100% ready, but ready to start becoming ready. This is the highest anyone can achieve, because no one's really ever ready. When he reaches that level, guidance has to be direct, like I've explained previously, or through an embodied master, or from inside directly, from the source, directly. No dreams, no experiences, images. This is just for spiritual babies. Direct, clear-cut instruction, direct. Like this and that, this and that. It's not intuition. None of that. Direct guidance. If this is not there, then things are not at the level that you imagine them to be. And there's a common ground for those who come with these how do you say this, this kind of speech, experiences, and all of this. And they speak about devotion, they speak about all of that. But there's no real devotion, no real surrender, and there's no guidance. They can be experiences, this and that, but not that kind of guidance, not at that level. And no compromise. No compromise. And what is compromise? What is following guidance, receiving guidance? That is the call from the source, connecting to the source. You see, guidance tells you in the ocean of possibilities, of apparent possibilities, it tells you this, not this or that, or this and this and that. This. And there's this idea that if I trust the guidance and follow the direction, I will get to the right place. Yes, it is more or less like that, but not exactly. You see, guidance takes you, creates situations, circumstances that will rock your boat, that will rock the knots of your delusion. That's one part. But actually, it's not about following the guidance. It has its, it is important. But the most important thing is the trust. But why the trust? To follow that? No, because trust is attunement. Attunement to the source. So, as the seeker is still not ripe, his quest is still about something to be gained, apart from something to be lost. He trusts guidance in a sense that it will be good for me, but he's not seeing the big picture. The presence of guidance, tuning himself with guidance. That is the most fundamental aspect. And as this idea is that I'm moving through the labyrinth and I want to find the way out and I'm following guidance right or left, you're still maturing, still maturing. And when you reach a higher state of maturity, you'll understand that tuning with guidance is that which will bring you to guidance, to the source of guidance. So all else is just a preparation for this. Of course, as you follow guidance, you will have to go through your fears, attachments, and all of this. And as you go through this, through these intense experiences, either you drop guidance, that is what usually happens, 95%, or you embrace it more and more. And that embracing, that is the game. That is the real game. Because experiences fall behind. They are unimportant. There's no logic. There is a logic. The logic is to break your world. So if you go through these experiences with the worldly logic, so I'm doing this that guidance told me, so everything is going to be okay? So I'll be safe and nothing bad will happen and all of that. And it is true, but it's not true for you because what you think is bad is actually good. And if what you think is good is actually bad. So everything will go all right, but not according to your ideas. The seeker of well-being thinks he is working on circumstances. The seeker of truth knows circumstances are creating the opportunity for him to work himself, to cut the knots of his own beliefs. So for those who imagine that finding guidance is like a compass, it is. But as greed is still there in your mind, you think it will help you to reach the pot of gold. But you're only using the pot of gold that you're looking for as a means to help you to reach the pot of gold. How crazy is that? It is about attunement, tuning yourself with guidance, becoming one with it, and that is through love and surrender. So this is subject of guidance. And previously, for those who are in that situation which I described, if you're really serious, anyone can be deluded, but not everyone can break from it. It takes sincerity and above all courage, because if those things are like that circus is going on, it's because it must be important for you. And behind that importance lies a lot of weaknesses. And without addressing those weaknesses, it will be difficult for you to come out of it. Whatever you will do, it will be to renew those circumstances and not to come out of them. That is what you'll try. So learning to observe that which is not in the right place instead of justifying it is a must. There's a question here on Instagram. What's most important for happiness? Can you elaborate a little bit on that question? Please. Because, well, as long as you're not for truth, happiness cannot be experienced, real happiness. As you look for real happiness or happiness in that sense, it will not be found. As you dropped it and look for truth as you find it, you will know happiness. Because, well, you will never be happy. That is the ultimate truth. Because you are happiness. It's different. And for those who are beginning their journey, careful with what you're building, because that spiritual character, as you feed with informations, starts building. It starts with a way of speaking, using specific terms to a specific philosophy, the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you behave, and watch it. Observe, as you are dealing with worldly people, normal people, for those who are in the beginning, because you have this comparison. Others may have lost it already. So you have a way of speaking with worldly people, normal people, whatever that means. And you're having a different way of speaking with spiritual people, which belong to that same context that you are being a part of. So this is already something for you to observe, because, well, the way you talk with normal people, that is your normal stance. That is the character at its simplest way. The way you speak to spiritual people, if it is different, so that is a more complex way, another mask on the character. But spirituality is about breaking those masks, dissolving them, not creating new ones. So if new ones are being created, well, pay attention to that, because that's really not the right direction. So philosophy, spiritual teachings are there to break your illusion, not to create a new one, a more sophisticated one. And this is usually what happens. And what continues is, this becomes interesting, nice, fun, and then it brings a lot of emptiness. And then you become a prisoner of it, because all your insecurities, self-esteem, everything will depend on that new character. And with the years passing by, and the absence of real spiritual fire, you will become even more dependent on these structures, and it will be more difficult to come out of them. Sometimes you have to create something new to replace the old, but understand that this new one will have to drop also. If you keep on building on top of it, that's not the right way. Okay. Okay, so question from Neha. I think maybe that's the way it pronounces. I'm not sure. From past 20 days, I have been getting dreams from God to follow self-realization path. I'm a mother of 2 children and both are small. I'm really confused what to do. What happens after self-realization? People leave their home? There is big dilemma. Daily I'm getting the dreams. Well, not sure where's the dilemma here. What happens after self-realization? People leave their home? So, tá vindo mais coisa aí? There's something else coming. Okay. So instead of beginning and following that calling, which is coming as it is possible, you're worried about the end of the journey. Oh, so this is something else. Okay. So one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. So if you're getting the dreams and you feel that it is a calling for you, well, then follow it. And as things are coming, as the calling comes, fears will come, of course. It is natural. It is intended to be that way. Because, like I explained previously, those fears, illusions, they are the knots of your delusion. So, if anything real starts appearing, manifesting, fears will pop up. And they have to be dealt with. But if you're in the beginning, the best thing you have to do is tuning yourself to guidance, preparing yourself for guidance, to finding your master. And that means spiritual work, intense spiritual work. Not on the internet, Googling, but meditation, intense meditation practice. You have your conditions, your circumstances. Use them in the best of your ability. And there's more here. Well, okay, real proud to be an Indian, as God has given our country a real treasure, and that is spirituality. Yes. Sriman Narayana is also Indian, in heart, in heart. Also asking that for a married person, is it necessary to follow celibacy while on the path of spirituality? I'm feeling restless because of continuous dreams. See, all these things of celibacy and all of that, if it will be important, it will come. Sometimes it comes. Some people do it as a sadhana. Others, those who are following guidance, they do it as guidance tells them to. It can be for long periods, short periods, and of course it will bring difficulties. But understand, the most important thing now, if you're getting the call, so call back. If God is calling you, you call him back. Tune yourself, meditate, intensely meditate as much as you can. Take care of those who are around you for now, the best of your ability, but put that quest in first place and dedicate as much time as it is possible. Don't create any restlessness in your home. Wait for guidance. Guidance will tell you what will be needed. And whatever needs will come, celibacy, for example, that will depend on a lot of factors. But guidance will lead the way. And a lot of things could be said about this. Oh, but you don't need to get out from home. Or it could be said that you need to get out from. There's a lot of possibilities, but the important one is your path. It is unique. There's no way to predict what is needed to you. Because things are much bigger than what logic dictates. Logic is something very small. Everyone has its own logic depending on where they're standing. And everybody's right and everyone is wrong. Because everything is circumstantial. Guidance will point the way. So best thing for now is give as much time as you can. Take care of those who are around you. Pray for God. Pray for His guidance. And observe the signs, because sometimes at the level where you're standing, things will not come in a direct way. Because they will test what is there which is more important for you. Because there's this expression, I'm not sure how is it said in English. There's a lot of them. I'm not sure how is it said. But it's like lots of seekers get called, but very few are chosen. It's a sentence like this. But it's not about being chosen, it's about electing yourself, because calling comes into a lot of hearts. But if the hearts lust for other things, they cannot really answer that call. They turn that call into something fancy, something that will bring them more importance and all of that, and that's not really the point. So things sometimes come in indirect ways to see how you reveal yourself, how you position yourself. And that positioning will reveal if you have what it takes to continue or not. So it's like this. So don't worry about what will happen next, or worry, because if you're worried, if you have to leave your home after self-realization, and that is a big weight for you, well, don't worry about that, because self-realization will never come, because you're strapped into that fear and that attachment. Not will come. Also, just roaming around like this without any guidance, that is nothing also. So for everybody, the best time that you could use, all seekers, is to prepare themselves for guidance, to work hard, sincerely, for guidance, praying for it, working hard for it, working their humbleness, their devotion, their purity of heart. That is the shortest path. So if you have any more questions about this, well, feel free to ask. Satsangs will resume their normal pace, so next Wednesday, again, we'll be here. So Jordan, where did you learn all of this? I feel so lost. In a magazine, I read it just 5 minutes ago, and I'm sorry, just... Well, I hope these words will suit you also. The one who feels so lost is because he's looking all around to see what, where, when, how. Have to tune yourself within. But these days, people don't even trust these within and all these things. So they're getting lost and lost and lost because their faith, their strong spiritual strength, okay, well, you understand, I hope. It's getting weaker and weaker. You see, there's no belief in God, divine, all these things are being like squeezed out, and just words, lifeless words. So magic has to be restored, faith has to be restored, or else just emptiness and being lost. That's what is left. Okay, Quentin. Is emotional release, healing as some say, indispensable for the cleansing of perceptions, as the perception reopened on different levels? Is it possible to experience quantum leaps with a still pretty sick, strong ego, if you understand what I mean perfectly? Okay, so emotional releases, that's a way of putting it, and yes, it is indispensable. I think that's what you wanted to write here. Yes, indispensable for the cleansing of perceptions. That happens. So one way of perception to become more cleansed is with these emotional releases. But an emotional release is not what you should be looking for. You see, as you focus, as you hold on to a meditation technique, and I will just speak of meditation because yes, that's not the only way, but it is the most needed for the majority of seekers, especially those who say they are beyond meditation. And I'll just put that here in a clear way. If you're focusing on your meditation, intensifying it, and focus on meditation lies your purpose, the divine quest where you are. It is a divine work. So the mindset is completely different, because if it's just a meditation without the divine aspect of it, it's really almost nothing. And as you are practicing a meditation, you have a technique. As you're focusing on that technique, the most important aspect is you're abstracting yourself from the rest. And as it is a spiritual undertaking, a communing with the divine, then your attunement with higher frequencies will start purging the lower bodies, whatever that means, of all these dense whatevers are there. And emotional releases, mental releases also, physical ones will happen. It's not the object of concentration, that's not your purpose, but it will succeed in its own time, in its own frequency. And the more you intensify your practices, the more this will intensify also. But if you're focusing on these emotional releases, then you'll get almost nothing out of it. With your meditation and all of it, it's very small. And this, of course, can be, people say, oh, but I'm having lots of experiences. And so what? It doesn't mean anything. Experiences are infinite. It doesn't mean if you're having experiences that you are moving, that if you're not having experiences that you're not moving. This is absurd. So these things will occur if you're on the right track, if you're intensifying your practices, if you're sincere. And it will happen as side effects. As you focus on these things, they become the priority, and this minimizes everything, becomes very small. But for any, and okay, as the perception reopen on different levels. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I will just use your words. And for this to happen, to reopen at different levels, at higher levels, clear levels, all these gross aspects will have to be released, cleansed, whatever that means. But focus should be on the goal, on the meditation, on the divine, not on these things. You see, because you are a devotee of the truth, a seeker of truth. You're not a carpenter of emotional aspects or whatever. Not an engineer. As I put this in place, these things are secondary. It's like the body. Life is there, so all these functions appear to happen. But if you want to, okay, so I'll make the body work. You pick up a corpse, you pump the heart, and you start doing, you will not have enough hands to do it. Life takes care. So life is more important. And in spiritual practice, in the spiritual quest, it's about the life. And the life is the quest for truth. And there is, how do you call this? There is a life in your process as a seeker of truth. And that life, as you continue to intensify, it will be more clear for you, more perceptible. It's like being involved in it, and it will do what needs to be done. You just focus in silence, intensifying your practices and dealing with the fears, attachments that come, and working things out. This is your focus. The rest happens by itself. Okay, my dear. Question solved. One more. We have to control desires, or with practice we get to control slowly? You see, desires bound you to this, what you call reality. It is the forces that are dragging you and making you invest. So desires, they are like handcuffs. You see, they keep you in prison. So for your consciousness to move higher, you have to release yourself from those shackles. It is important. Has no point working higher aspects and leaving this untouched. Desires will have to be worked out. What is the best way to establish in the presence of this pure consciousness? What I've been talking about. The shortest path is preparing yourself to guidance, making yourself worthy, intensifying, showing your work, your dedication, your passion for truth, and your commitment. This is very important, your commitment. And if these things, when these things are there, guidance will come. It can even come before. It can. But the difficulty is you will have more difficulties in trusting, in believing, and this can be a problem because, well, but each one has his own story, and sometimes things happen in this way. You just have to do the best you can with what you have. And by the best you can is hopefully something which is beyond what you think you can, because that will be the challenge. That will be the challenge. And this question is very big. It seems small, but it's very big. So if you want to understand a little bit better, there is a series of videos in the YouTube channel, which is Igniting the Sacred Fires. 14 videos that goes from the beginning to the end, more or less, and speak about the spiritual journey and different aspects, starting by the seeker of truth, which is the most important aspect of all. Okay, my friend, I will answer your question now. I saw that a lot of times, yes, there are investments for egoistic future gains, of course. These are the base forces that you'll have to deal with. Very difficult to go around them. But for the most part, the reason I want and go towards freedom is because that is the only thing that makes sense to me. Well, I see all the limitations of my dream, and the only sense I can find is to try to wake up from it. At the same time, when I meditate or choose countless of times to give up a thread of thought, there is a desire for change, and it seems to me as an investment. I would like to know your thoughts on that, and maybe to go further on the subject of the differences between self-investment and the path of freedom regarding what I said. Well, like I was saying, I don't know if you're watching, but if you're not, go see it again, because for me not to repeat it. Mind is the labyrinth. So, of course, if you start questioning, really, you will see what you're seeing. That these Well, you give up a thread of thought, there is a desire for change, it seems to me an investment. And it could be, but it also, this thought can be a protection mechanism for you to remain as you are. And that will depends how long you're in that situation, how important it is for you. And there is more or less a way to see as you're blindfolded, as, well, if I leave this context, will that be a threatening, frightening experience or not? But even to ask these questions, sincerity has to be there, and that's not an easy level to achieve. And if fear arises, well, it's pointing a direction. Maybe you have to change. If fear is not arising, well, probably it's irrelevant. But like I said previously, mind is the labyrinth. So as you are observing your thoughts on it and asking my thoughts on it, you're at the same. It doesn't matter what I answer really, because, well, it's just thoughts. And eventually you will choose what logic dictates. And logic serves present illusion. So everything maintains itself in harmony. You see, guidance is fundamental, because that is what points the way. And without it, it's just your thoughts, someone else's thoughts, but it's not someone else's thoughts. You may take on someone else's thoughts if your logic has changed. Because if you're trusting your mind, you're making the decisions. And that will be always according to protection of your own delusion. Because labyrinth cannot escape from itself. Can never do. It has to go beyond that. And sometimes, most of times, you reach a point where everything seems peaceful. I was talking about this previously. And nothing touches it. And, well, there's no fears, there's just peace, this and that. Well, if you have the opportunity of coming closer to guidance, well, you will find that where you thought there was paradise, hell is there, boiling, just waiting for you to put your hand on it. Because mind is very good at masquerading things. But it doesn't matter how you masquerade it, it will never be as it seems. So all these questions arise because guidance is not there. So ask for guidance. Make yourself worthy of guidance. Make yourself a seeker of truth. That is the passport, is to become a real seeker of truth. So what is in need here is the life of the process, the divine aspect of it, guidance. So this is what's missing. And you're probably asking my opinion, asking someone's opinion. Well, I don't have an opinion. Opinions are useless. Advices are useless. For a seeker of truth, only guidance matters. And the guidance for a seeker of truth will never be the same as to someone else. And that means what? That everyone has a specific... Sometimes yes, other times it is the same guidance, the same direction, but it's taken differently by those who are receiving it and creating different circumstances. And it is in those circumstances that things are worked out. It doesn't matter what's in its right place, because that's not the obstacle. The obstacles will be that what needs to be worked. And even your vision now relates to a level of awareness. As this expands, vision changes. It keeps on changing and changing and changing. So if things are in the right speed, whatever you're going through now, you will not understand it. If you're understanding what you're going through now, well, that is slow as a snail. Because if things are in the right pace, you will not be understanding what you're going through now. You will only understand it later. But this is for very few. Those who have big intensity, or those who have an intense calling that sometimes they don't understand. And they feel they are not qualified. There are different situations. But if things are in the right pace, you're not understanding what you're going through now. Probably you'll just understand it much later, when you're going through other things that you're not understanding. If you're giving the paces that you are understanding now, that you feel safe and comfortable, well, nothing is happening. Nothing. Just changing in circumstances, but no life. I want to know about your spiritual journey, Gurudev, how it started. Who is your Satguru? Well, my dear, I don't speak about those things, and if you go to the website, those informations are not available. Why? Because I don't want anything to give anything that you can relate at that level of personality and to engage into a lot of things. If these words resonate with your heart, go find those answers in your heart. All rest unimportant. I don't speak about myself, whatever that means. And if there's no more questions, then more questions? Okay, more questions. More questions. Okay, I thought your answer could be a kind of guidance. This is a genuine attempt to see my ego trick. Okay. Well, there's a kind of guidance is something which has no commitment on itself and is something that you are choosing. You see, that's in the chapter which I was speaking before of dreams, intuitions, perceptions, these kind of guidances that you can interpret, misinterpret, choose, select from here to there. But this lacks commitment. And you see, as it intensifies, the challenges will be enormous, intense. And without this commitment, it's impossible to go through. And commitment has to be from the part of the seeker of truth, of course, because so I guess no question are really necessary. Just stay in silence is the best. I love this answer. This sentence is one of the best ones. So I guess no questions are really necessary. Just stay in silence is the best. The best way to protect your ignorance. Yes. Questions are important to be made where you're standing. The question is where to put those questions. And this is guidance again. So So you'll search and you'll do whatever you have to do. But these questions are important to put. But you need to find your guidance. It's not about just guidance finding you, because it can be instead in front of you and you won't be able to see it. You have to find it. Find it in your heart. It will tell you, and you have to trust it and commit to it. That's how it starts. And then, yes, questions have to be made, answers have to come, and that dance, that immemorial dance will have to start and continue and unfold the best which is in you, and the worst also. But it's very interesting because in certain occasions a lot of questions are made and then it comes back to silence. Even that is a way to protect which is there. So guidance is the eyes of the blind man. Because this just stay in silence. If you just stayed in silence, if that would be possible, first you would have to understand what silence is. Because if that would be possible, you would just burst into spontaneous combustion. It would be too intense. Silence is not just absence of words, of giving up questions. It goes much beyond that. Much beyond that. Okay. So next satsang will be Wednesday 9 o'clock. Brazilian time, UTC -3. Till then, make the best use of your time. Reflect on these words. And question what appears to be at the right place. Learn how to question it. Okay. Watch.